Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 91st episode of the Triboro Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Alonso, joined by Nicholas O'Brien. As always, how are we doing,
I'm
O'Brien,
doing
man?
good. That's me. I'm doing good. Came back from Florida last week. I was away last week. Florida was nice. It was warm. It was not crappy and rainy like New York. Uh, I enjoyed it very much.
Mm.
But then I came back. Yesterday was my first full day back, and it was 35 degrees outside. After I just spent a week in 70 to 80.
My computer says it is 39 out right now and rainy.
Yes, it was quite the rude awakening. When I wasn't very much a fan of it. But Florida was great. I had a good time.
Yeah.
I saw the new home of the Rays far away, but
That they scratched.
yes,
Oh, wait, no, you're talking about George Steinbrenner. I'm stupid.
yes. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
yeah, they have like 120 hours to like change everything.
yep, it's great.
Oh, boy.
I can't
But
wait.
that's what. Yeah, 5 days. Anyways, so getting into our over unders. The way that we're gonna do this is we're just gonna do all Yankees over. I'm okay. All Yankees over unders, then all Mets over unders. So we have, what do we say, 7? 1, 2,
Yeah,
3,
we
4,
got
5, 6,
14
7. Yeah, so
between
we
the
got
two.
14 total. So we're gonna start it out with Austin Wells games played. I have it at 144 and a half. I took the over, which
Really?
may be
Okay.
crazy.
Okay.
But I just think that they need him to play.
That's
They
fair.
need him every single day. And it's also a thing of, too, this isn't at bats or plate appearances, it's
Yeah.
games played.
Games.
So even when he's not playing, I feel like there's going to be a couple of nights where they're going to need him to pinch hit.
Pinch hit. Yeah.
So this, because they said he's the leadoff hitter against righties. I don't know if you
Hmm.
know this, Nicholas O'Brien, but you play a righty for like 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 games. So he's
Really?
gonna be leading off for a most amount of games. And I'm gonna talk about it more. I talked about it on the radio at Triboro Sports Show from on Thursdays from 4 to 6. You should listen. But I talked about it on the radio a lot. I have a very unique situation where I pretty much am having Austin Wells play 90% of games. And I think you could actually map it out where it makes logistical sense.
Hmm.
So I know it's crazy. And I looked at it. He would have ranked 6th amongst catchers in games played
Yeah.
last year.
I also did see that.
So there would have been a lot of other guys that would have played that
Hmm.
still did play more than him.
Yeah.
So the only knock, he has had injuries in the past. That being said, they were a little fluky. Like he broke a rib, he got hit in the hand, so like he didn't play as well. Missed a couple of games that because of that last year.
Freak things.
So yeah, they're more like freakish things. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that especially with Stanton, I think Stan's. I am at the point where in my mind Stan's out for the year.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think
know.
that's fair.
I don't know
There's
about
just
you, but
been no
like
updates.
yeah, I'm planning for Stanton to be out for the year. And with that being said, the DH is going to be a open revolving door.
Yeah.
And I think Ben Rice is going to get play at first base. I think he's going to get play at catcher. So, yeah, I'm taking the over on that.
I'm taking I let me preface this by saying I agree with everything you just said, but I'm taking the under.
It's crazy to say over for a catcher. It is.
Yeah. So last year, there were only 5 catchers that played over 145 games. That's Adley Rutschman, Yainer Diaz, Cal Raleigh, William Contreras, and Salvador Perez, who's basically a glorified first baseman at this point. So I, I definitely think he's going to be in that group. I don't think this is going to hit the under by a lot. I think this is going to be super close, like
140.
143, if not like 144 on the dot. But I just think that, yes, he's a catcher. He's going to get beat up. There is a chance of just him getting injured, him just needing a day, him just needing a week to recover. That's an absolute possibility. And plus, although Stan's probably not going to be there, I do think this is their opportunity to kind of put Judge at the DH a lot more. So I think that, yes, Austin Wells is definitely going to DH, but I feel like there's just more at-bats to go around in that DH spot now that it might just be a little tougher. And then also on top of that, the Yankees love, oh my God, what's his, JC Escara,
Mhm.
right? They love him, so I'm sure they have no problem giving Wells a day, letting him play,
Yeah.
you know? So again, love Austin Wells. I just, like
Such
145, 150 games is kind of crazy.
no, it 100% is. I just think that they need to rely on him this much.
That's fair. That's
So
fair. I absolutely agree, but it's just it's tough for me to see a lot of because again, only 5 catchers did it, right? And it's like the top of the top, and then Yanner Diaz and glorified first baseman Salvador Perez. So, and then
if
after
it
that,
was
Tyler Stevenson's sixth, I think, with
yeah,
138 games.
if it was a thing of games played at catcher, completely different story. Just
Yeah,
it being games played in general, I am just because this line fucked me over. I was going back and forth with it so much, but I said, you know what? I'm calling my shot on Austin Wells. That's how I learned. That's how I've won these
yeah,
both the years in a row. I learned you just gotta call your shot. Just give me
that's
the
fair.
praise. Give me the praise. That's how I won the home
No,
run draft too. That is how I am
that's
dominating all this because I know ball and you don't know ball. It's because you're pushing up your glasses. You're like, well, actually, even though I use all the same shit as you, but call your shot. So I went for the over for Austin Wells. Then the next one, Ben Rice home runs, 19 and a half. What'd you go?
I went over.
I went over too.
I went over. I'm all aboard the Ben Rice train. I've been
Dude,
on the Ben
it's
Rice
so bad.
train.
I hate it.
We
I
we
hate
I,
it.
we were the first two on the Ben Rice train. No, we weren't. But
No,
I think
I would
my
like to
biggest
let
thing.
me think. I would like to
Oh,
thank Ryan Garcia for getting
the
me into the church of Ben
the
Rice.
Ben Rice propaganda.
Yeah, he fully brainwashed me.
Yeah,
And now
he's
I'm
the
trying to
person.
spread the gospel
The
of
gospel.
Rice.
We are simply disciples.
Disciples of
But
Rice.
disciples of Rice. Oh my God, I love that. But my biggest thing with Ben Rice is not, although I love him, it's not more about Ben Rice. It's more about the other guy that Ben Rice is kind of competing against. Paul Goldschmidt has a chance of being really bad. There is a non-0% chance Paul Goldschmidt is not, is unplayable or just
Old.
needs a platoon or just old. Right. So I think at the very least, I think there's going to be a platoon sometime later down the line. And obviously, like you said it with Austin Wells, you play against a lot more righties, which gives Ben Rice a lot more uh kind of what's it called? Like a leash, I guess. And then on top of that, you have the DH spot, which is wide open. So I think he's going to get the playing time, and then the power is always there. In 2023 in the minors, in 73 games, he hit 20 home runs. 2024, 79 games in the minors, he hit 24 home runs. So the power's there. We know he barrels the ball at an elite level. I think it's all about playing time, which I think he's going to get.
And even then, you may even be able to throw out those home run numbers.
Fair.
Do you know? So his previous hard hit max in any level was 110.8. Do you know how many times he's hit a ball harder than that this spring?
I think it was like 5 last time I checked.
6.
Yeah.
He has broke his career max exit velocity 6 times in spring training.
That's
Say what you
incredibly
want about
impressive.
spring training. When a guy does it, if you do it 3 times, you're like, okay. Especially
Interesting.
when the story he added all the muscle, all that. 6 fucking times. I we'll talk more about Ben Rice when we get into the hot takes.
We
But
will.
I have a take about Ben
Definitely.
Rice.
I
But
can't wait.
yeah, it's
Yeah. All
we
aboard the Rice
we're
train.
gonna get called dumbasses. But
What we're here for.
Jason Dominguez home runs plus stolen bases 39.5. The way I saw this was, do you think Jason Dominguez is having a 2020 season?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I
that's
said yes, so I
th-
took the over.
I went back and forth. I honestly had a tough time for this. Initially, I was like under. Like no way. But then I checked the stolen base stats.
That's where it's gonna. I think
Yeah, I think if he gets on base at a decent clip, I think he blows past this line. Which again, I think he will. I think we're both pretty confident in Jason Dominguez, at least at the plate. Um, so obviously I went the over. So yes, I don't know if he's gonna have a 2020 season, but it might be 15 home runs and then what's it called 25
25.
stolen bases, which again I think if he has a good year, he's stealing like 30, 40 bags,
I
which
think
then
15.
again
I think 15
blows
home
past
runs
this.
is kind of what I expect from
Hmm.
Dominguez. I literally in my notes, he'll run into his home runs. More of a question if he has the opportunities to steal.
Yeah,
It's just a question if he gets on base. And throughout the minors, he was a high end base guy. All they
yeah,
talked about was his plate discipline, all that. So I think he'll get it. And especially if they're doing kind of what we think they're gonna do with like Jazz, Volpe, Dominguez, Oswaldo, where they have like those four guys be like the speed guys in the lineup, all kind
yeah.
of like bunched together, play a little more small ball like that. So I think it's a pretty easy. I think he may even hit 50 combined because I think he'll just steal that
Maybe.
much.
Yeah.
Because also
I
I
definitely
could
think the
see him.
steals are gonna carry
I could see him
this one.
being in like the back half of a double steal, too, like
Hmm.
a bunch.
Yeah.
Especially if Jazz is in front of him. Jazz is known as such an aggressive base runner. He just has to get on base. So yeah. Then for the next one, Cody Bellinger plus Paul Goldschmidt, F4. I did, and if you guys couldn't tell for these, there's kind of a trend that I wanted to do like all new guys, especially since the
Yeah.
Yankees overall did a very big reconstruction, I guess you could
Yeah.
say, of their roster
Yeah.
after losing Soto.
Retool.
Retool. So I kind of went with like kids that never really solidified themselves, plus just new guys overall. But for the two new bats, I went the over, and I
Mm.
think that this is going to be heavily, heavily carried by Cody Bellinger.
I agree, which is why I went the under.
Okay.
I think Paul Goldschmidt's really gonna weigh you down.
I don't think, because to me, realistically, all the projections have Cody Bellinger at 2.5 to 3 WAR.
Hmm.
I think it is very realistic to see Cody Bellinger having a 3. I think it's realistic to see him have a 3 WAR season. That is
Yeah,
not out of the
absolutely.
range of probabilities, especially with he has been barreling the ball harder spring. He's been hitting the ball. I think his average exit velocity is like 94 in spring so far. Last year was about like 87. So I'm not saying having 94. If Cody Bellinger has a 94 average exit velocity, he's gonna finish top
We're
5 in
getting
MVP.
2019 belly.
Um, but if he could stay at around like 89, 90, I think that's possible, especially playing in Yankee Stadium. Especially telling him like, yeah, dude, literally just pull the fuck out of the ball, and that's all that's gonna happen. You have such a baseline with the defense when it comes to Cody Bellinger that this is a very high line, but I could see it mostly by Bellinger. And then you get a 1.5 from Paul Goldschmidt. I think that's realistic. I'm not
Yeah.
expecting anything crazy. He's a solid defensive first baseman. He, I think you haven't really seen that many signs of aging with him so far.
Hmm.
He's one of the most durable players in all of baseball. Um, so I don't, I, it was so tough for me. I went over just because I kind of looked at it as what do the Yankees need to happen for them to have a successful season? They need this to hit the over. So,
Yeah, that's fair. I think everything you said. Definitely agree. Cody Bellinger is gonna have a good year at Yankee Stadium. I've realized the more I've looked into it, I am getting lesser and lesser on Paul Goldschmidt.
mhm.
Although he's having a good spring. I think obviously the defense is taking a hit, so you're not going to get. I mean, a good defensive first baseman isn't valued as well as it probably should be to begin with, but you're going to take a hit defensively. I don't think he's that Gold Glover first baseman anymore. And then the bat, I'm still kind of weary about. Obviously, he still hits the ball hard, but we'll see. And then just kind of looking at all the projections, they're all around 1.5. Some have him at over 2. I think he's gonna be like around that 1.3 1.314. Like if this hits the under, I think it's gonna be super close.
Mhm.
But I also think it has a lot to do with Ben Rice as well. If Ben Rice starts hitting more than Paul Goldschmidt, they give him some lane against some lefties, and then there goes your Goldschmidt playing
You
time.
say that, but
I
at the
do.
same time, the Yankees are notorious for giving veterans incredibly long leashes. Look at Alex
That's fair.
Verdugo. And I
Yeah, no,
think
that's
Paul
fair.
Goldschmidt's to a higher caliber than Alex Verdugo.
Fair enough.
So,
Especially he's buddy buddy with Judge, so maybe that'll never happen. But yeah, again, I'm taking
unless
the under,
Paul
but I
Goldschmidt
don't
is
think it's gonna be close.
absolutely cooked, I think he's playing at least 140 games.
Yeah, unless he's Anthony Rizzo,
Yeah.
essentially.
Even then, look at how much runway they gave
Yeah,
Rizzo.
he played a lot. You're right.
So, and I don't think he's as bad as Anthony Rizzo, so,
Yeah,
who still is not signed, by the way. Max Fried ERA, 330 and a half. So, AKA, do you think he's going to have a sub 330 ERA? I took the under.
I took
Because
the over.
this one was so hard, but that would be his highest. If he hits the over, that'd be his highest ERA since 2019.
Mhm.
You are getting a much better defense behind him with Jazz, Volpe, Goldie's pretty solid, and then Oswald. People forget how good defensively Oswaldo Cabrera is. So he's having that. You have one of the best defensive catchers in Austin Wells behind the plate, and I think that I don't think he's better than Sean Murphy. That's just the numbers say, especially when it comes to framing, and it's also a thing of too. Yankee Stadium is built for left-handed pitching, especially left-handed pitching that could keep the ball on the ground. We talked about it that Yankee Stadium offers the least amount of singles in baseball, especially to lefties. So I'm very confident in Max Fried this year, and I feel like I'm being a homer, but at the same time, this would be his lowest ERA since 2019.
Yeah,
So it's not like I'm just saying like, oh, Carlos Rodon's gonna have a 3.1 ERA. No, it's a guy that I've said multiple times is one of the most underrated pitchers in all of baseball.
yeah.
So
No, definitely. For me, I think it's just looking at a lot of the ERA estimators. You know, his expected ERA last year was 3.7.
but then
His
look at his
FIP
FIP.
was 3.33, which is still over. That's still over 3.3. His expected FIP was 3.3 as well. So I do think he's gonna hover that 3.3 line, but I think it's gonna be just a touch over because I also feel like yes, he keeps the ball on the ground, but I'm sure there's gonna be some fluky home runs at Yankee Stadium. You know that I feel like he might surprisingly have a higher ERA at Yankee Stadium than on the road. I'm kind of just like pulling shit out of my ass, but I kind of feel like that might happen. So, and then the elbow problems still scare me. God forbid he misses time. He obviously has less time to bring that ERA down. So, all of these I have noticed, the more we talk about it, they are hitting the over or under, and it's going to
His
be
health.
very slim. It's going to be
Oh,
very
that too,
slim.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very slim. Like if he hits over 3.3, I think it's going to be like a 3.33 or a
It's gonna be
3.35.
sub 3.4.
Right, exactly. So either
That's
way, I still think it's going to have a
that's why these
fantastic year,
lines
but
are like so like but
oy
the
vey.
Devin Williams saves 30 and a half.
This was tough for me. This was
This
a
was
little tough.
so tough because there's so many. I think Devin Williams, the talent, could have a 40 save season easily. Very
Yeah,
easily.
definitely.
I took the over.
Okay.
I had the under at first
Okay.
because of health. But then I looked at it. The health is not nearly as bad as I thought it was over his career. Two-time reliever of the year. I think the hardest part will be if he gets the opportunities.
Right.
Will he get enough opportunities to get 31 saves? Because I don't know with the pitching, with the hitting, they're going to be in some tight games. But I also think they're going to be in some blowouts just because some guys just are not going to have that game.
Marcus Stroman.
I still took the over because I just think he is arguably the best closer in baseball.
That's fair. Uh, I did take the under, and again, I think it's going to be super
I
slim.
ping ponged on this one so much.
Yeah, I think he's like 25 to 30 on the dot. He's had only saved 30 games, over 30 games once in his career, which I'll preface by saying He was
Brewers.
obviously not the main closer at the Brewers when Josh Hader was there, and then he was hurt last year. The other thing that they have going against them is I think this Yankees bullpen is going to be really good. So they could give him, not give him a day, but like Luke Weaver can save games. I obviously we saw that last year. I think Fernando Cruz is going to be a really good reliever. Tim Hill could even save a game if it's up to matchups. Mark Leiter Jr. I like a lot. I just think there's a lot. Obviously, he's the main closer, but I think there's a lot of other pitchers that can save a game if they need to. And I think it was a stress reaction in his back last year.
Yeah.
It's a little scary. Obviously, he's been fine since that, but the probability of that popping up again is is a little worrisome in my eyes. So again, I think it's going to be super close, but I did take the under.
Yeah. Then getting into team ERA, 3.99.5. I went the over.
I think this was an easy over for me.
I went the over. Because you look at it, you have Marcus Stroman, Carlos Carrasco, who are going to be getting starts. Even Schmidt and Heel, they're coming off injury. How are they going to come off injury? Schmidt, it looks like he's going to miss the minimum, granted, but how is he going to be after injury? You have even Will Warren, who I love, who knows what he is. I would push back on the bullpen, honestly. I'll get into that later because you have uncertainty in the bullpen. So I took the over, and yeah.
Yeah, I think this was pretty easy. I think, yeah, the starting pitching obviously got worse because of Cole, Schmidt, Heel, all those guys. Last year, the Yankees had a 3.76 team ERA. And I think the starting pitching obviously got worse. The bullpen's probably around the same. So I think with that being said, I think that it was a pretty easy decision for me. But
if Heel doesn't go down, I take the under. Because then you're essentially replacing.
I'd still be quick.
But then you're replacing Garrett Cole, who missed half the year with Max Fried. So
yeah,
you know what I mean.
But I also think Luis Heel having a 1 ERA for the first 2 months or whatever it was.
God, that's fair. That is fair.
You know what I mean? Because he went on just an insane run last year when Cole was out. But now again, there's no Cole, no Heel, no Schmidt. Marcus Stroman's in your rotation.
Marcus Stroman's your 3. Carlos Rodon's your 2. Carlos Carrasco's making starts.
Is in your.
He's looked good in spring, but it's also a veteran in spring.
He hasn't had an ERA under 4 since 2022. In 2023, he had a 6.8 ERA. 2024, he had a 5.6.
The only silver lining to Carlos Carrasco is he's back with Matt Blake.
Yeah.
That is the only reason why I think he could be somewhat competent for 3 starts. And then sayonara.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he can definitely just go on a run where, he's completely outperforming everything, but that's all you need for, a month.
Just give me 2 starts. Give me 2 or 3 starts, Carlos Carrasco. That's all I'm asking for.
I think that's him saying no.
Yeah, really? Yeah, but I think the only ones we agreed on were Jason Dominguez, home runs plus stolen bases, then team ERA and Ben Rice home runs.
Benjamin Rice. Uncle Benjamin.
Right. Then going on into the Mets.
Over on the Mets, over unders. Let's see what he did there. We're going to start off nice and easy. Juan Soto wins above replacement. Set it at 6.45.
By the way, all the war we're doing F4. I'm pretty sure yeah, just to make that clear for people that don't.
Just a preface.
Yeah.
So basically, do you think Juan Soto is going to have a 6.5 WAR season or higher? I went the over, but not by much.
I went the under.
Okay. Go ahead. I think there's more reasoning behind the under than the over.
He's only hit this twice in his career. He's not helping himself defensively. As great as Francisco Lindor is, as great as Pete Alonso is, as great as a lot of those guys are, they're nothing compared to Aaron Judge. They're nothing
Yep.
compared to the protection that he had.
Don't care.
It's so close. This one was so close. When you had it at 7.5 at first,
Yeah.
I was like, this
I was
may be
like,
the
hold on.
easiest under that I've seen in my entire life.
Because
So
I looked at it and I'm like, why? Because I did them late when I was on the plane. I was like, why did I? Well,
a little too much
but whatever.
hopium.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the
this
altitude.
this one was tough. It really was tough because just it's not necessarily a knock on Juan Soto. I just think that he's one of those guys that when the moment's the brightest, when it matters the most, he steps up.
Mhm.
So how much is he gonna be not be as good as last year, but take a step back? He's not on a contract year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's having an 8 WAR season.
Yeah,
Like that's
the
obvious.
eight point
That
one WAR season he had.
right. That's why I set this at 6.5. Right. If willing to bet he's never gonna have an 8 WAR season ever again. I think that's probably the
Unless
his
there's a
not his,
needle that goes in his ass.
right, not his peak, but like that in terms of WAR. I think that's kind of the highest you're gonna get. But I'm gonna push back on the Aaron Judge take because in 2021 when he was on the Nationals, he had a 6.8 WAR season. Who the fuck was in that lineup? Right? And
No,
then
that's fair.
you
That's
look
fair.
you look the past 2 years. Obviously, Yankees 8.1 with the Padres 6 on the dot, and then obviously 2022 was his one down year ever. So you take out 2022, which I'm not completely taking it, but I'm saying if you take that out because he got traded and there's a lot going on behind the scenes with him, it went 6.8, 6, 8.1. And I do think, as crazy as this might sound, I do think Citi Field is a much better ballpark for Juan Soto than Yankee Stadium is. Because he likes to go to the opposite field a lot, we know that left center in Yankee Stadium is just a fucking
He had a couple of
ditch.
29s out of 30s.
Right. And a lot of those 29s would be in Citi Field. And left center in Citi Field,
Well, all
it's a
of them
lot
would be
easier.
because the Yankee Stadium's the only stadium they weren't home runs in.
But a lot of those left center field hits either going to go down for doubles, not get caught, or even just go over the fence. So I think the better home ballpark for him. Obviously, he plays 81 games there. So yeah, I think we'll see how on the defensive front. I think if he's not going to hit 6.5, I think defense is probably the reason why.
This one, I could see it both ways. Honestly, I just went the under because of the history, more or less.
Sure.
Just because, like, past numbers, all that. And I think that he's going to have a worse year, but it's going to revolutionize the Mets lineup because everyone else is going to have a much better year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I could
definitely.
see him having a 6 WAR season, but everyone else adds like half a WAR to their total.
Right.
Because I
That's
just think
fair.
he's going to get pitched so much around. And even when you don't pitch around Juan Soto, he still gets on base and still walks. So,
Yeah.
and
I
it's
agree.
also a thing of, I don't want to say he's a one-trick pony because that is so unfair to Juan Soto. But outside of the bat, he's not giving you anything. He's not giving you anything
Mhm.
on the base pass. He's not giving you anything in the field. And God forbid his streak of being healthy breaks. I
That's
don't think it
crazy.
will. I
That's
do not
crazy.
think it will. That's
I
something
can't
that
believe
I
you just
try
said that.
not to take into account, but I also did a little bit. Um like a very, very
I
tiny
can't
bit.
believe you just put that into the universe.
I
You're
know, I
horrible.
hate that I
You're
did.
a horrible person. Yankees fans. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah.
Horrible.
I,
Anyways, I don't want to talk about it anymore because you're scaring me. Moving on from Juan Soto, we got Clay Holmes innings pitched. I'm gonna preface this before we talk about it. Actually, no, I'm not, just in case I could prove you wrong. Clay Holmes innings pitched 149 and a half. Do you think Clay Holmes will pass the 150 innings pitched mark?
yes.
Wow. I'm very surprised. You took the over.
I think he will be forced to.
Okay.
I don't think it necessarily is a thing about Clay Holmes. I think it's a thing of he will literally have to do it unless he gets hurt.
Okay. Fair enough. I also took the over because I think down the stretch they're gonna put him back in the bullpen.
Mm.
So I think he's gonna obviously accumulate a ton of innings in the rotation, and then I don't call it August, mid-August to the end of the season, he'll be back in the bullpen
You
and be
think so?
used as. I think so because this rotation has
So wouldn't you take the
the
under then?
trust.
Okay.
Hold on. This rotation has the opportunity to add A at the trade deadline and B from the minors. So they have they potentially can have other pitchers coming in and then the guys coming up. So the reason I took the over is the first year from relief pitcher to starting pitcher inning totals for a lot of the guys in the past, I don't know what, 5 years, call it. Seth Lugo, 146 innings in his first year. Jordan Hicks last year at 109. Ronaldo Lopez last year at 135. And then Michael Lorenzen, who only started 18 games at 97. I, I, if this was any higher, I'd probably take the under. But if he pitches 3/4 of the season, like five sixths of the season, I think he's gonna be around the 135, 140 mark, and then he can get the rest of those innings out of the bullpen. Because if
Mm.
he's back in the bullpen, then you're using him at 1 inning, 2 inning spurts 3 times a week, 4 times a week. You know what I mean? So I think that can build up pretty fast.
Mm. I just think he's gonna be forced to do it, honestly. And I know it's because Mania went down, but they trust him to be the opening day starter. So obviously he's gonna be the first man in the rotation, so he's gonna be getting more and more starts. Granted, it's probably only in one more start,
Hmm.
maybe two more starts than he would if he wasn't. But still,
Yeah,
that's not nothing. That still adds to the total.
yeah, definitely. Then moving on from that, we have Mark Vientos weighted runs created plus at 124 and a half. Last year I think he was over
130.
130, and then this year is projected to be around that 120, 125 mark. So 124 and a half over under.
I ping pong so much on this one. I took the over because I think of the Juan Soto effect.
Interesting. Okay.
That is the main reason I did. If Juan Soto was not in
Fair.
this lineup, I would take the under.
Okay. I did take the under. I do think Mark Vientos is probably a true like 120 WRC plus guy. I have a hard unless he improves, which is obviously can happen. I find it very difficult to see him replicating a 130 with the amount of times he strikes out and the whiffs and the chases and all that. We talked about it in the infield deep dive, which go check it out if you didn't. But I don't think he's a true 130 WRC plus guy. I think he's going to be more around that 120 mark. And Mark, get it? Um,
Oh, hi, Mark.
so yeah, I took the under. It's not so much that I don't believe in Mark Vientos. I think we just caught lightning in a bottle last year with how he played, and his second half was definitely a lot worse than his first half. I think that's something I failed to mention in the deep dive because I also didn't realize at that time how stark the difference was. If I can pull it up. In the first half last year, it's brought me from, he had a 150 WRC plus. In the second half last year, 120 on the dot. So I do think he's going to be in that 120 range. I have a hard time seeing 125 or above.
It could
Which
also
again, I
be a
think
thing
still
of
be super
though.
productive.
It could also be a thing of he needed to. Him getting worse at the end of the year is going to help him long term.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So who knows about that?
Definitely.
But I just think
Because
this
he then
Mets
picked
lineup
it
is.
up in the postseason.
I just think this
So
Mets lineup is just going to be so much deeper than it wasn't last year. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But
yeah, no, definitely fair. Then the next guy we got, Brandon Sproat, Mets top pitching prospect. Game started at 9.5. Do you think Brandon Sproat will start 10 or more games at the major leagues?
yes,
Ooh. I went the under, but I'm very interested to see why you took the over.
I think it'll almost be a thing of my same argument with Clay Holmes, where he'll almost get forced into it, even if he's not ready.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, is that more of an underperformance from this rotation, or kind of like
How many times have I talked about all the question marks in this rotation when it came to health,
yeah,
when it came to skill? And you already have one or two guys. Is Mania the only one hurt? Two? Who's the other one again?
Montas?
Montas, yeah. You already have two guys that are out. Then you're getting Paul Blackburn with a leaking spine.
He's fine. His
I know,
spine's not
I
leaking
just,
anymore.
his spine is not leaking anymore.
We plugged it. It's fine.
We just twisted it to straighten it out.
Yeah, we just wrung it out.
Twisted
It's
his
fine.
spine. Yeah. Um, it was so tough. I couldn't really find much. I just have a feeling that, and especially the Mets are one of those teams that they're the inverse of the Yankees in the sense of they like playing young guys. They are more than willing for the most
It's
part
music to my ears.
to play young guys. So I think he'll almost get pigeonholed into it. I could also see it being a thing of you like another guy a lot, but you're gonna give Sproat the start, and he may only go 3 or 4 innings, but then another guy will piggyback with him. But they'll
Gotcha.
still
Okay.
count as a game
A game
started.
started. Yeah. Kind of use more as an opener, if
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. My reasoning behind this is I think he's gonna have to light the world on fire to be called
This
up.
really let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
This line, he's either gonna start 3 games or 15.
Yeah. Basically.
It's not gonna be one of the lines where, oh, yeah, it'll be like 8. No. He's either starting 3 or 20. There is no in between.
Yeah. Just because I thought about it now. Christian Scott last year obviously got called up in May, pitched a bit in the majors.
But he also had Tommy John. That was
Right, but he still only started 9 games. He got sent down afterwards after a while, but he only started 9 games. He pitched. Where is his game log? He pitched from May to basically start of June, and then it didn't come back until July, and then he got Tommy John. So
Mhm.
if he would he have stayed in the rotation past July? Maybe. We obviously can't really. We don't know. But when it comes to Brandon Sproat, I think he needs to have an insane year in AAA because there's so many guys ahead of him. Are they better? Probably not. But there's a lot of guys ahead of him. Obviously, you got the 5 in the rotation, and then you got Paul Blackburn, and then you have Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas coming back whenever that may be. And then after that, it's kind of like, all right, there's not really anyone else that you would want to have ahead. But there's also probably other guys on the 40-man roster who you'd rather give a shot to than having to add Brandon Sproat to the 40-man and kind of finagling with that. And then just to tie a bow on it, a lot of projection systems have him at 3-3. Zips has him at 23. And then Zips depth charts 3-5-3. So kind of like that very middling
like I said, 3 games or
number.
20 games.
Right. Which seems to be the pattern. But yeah, I think he's just gonna have to he's gonna really have to earn it if he gets 10 or more starts.
Which is fair.
But moving on from Brandon Sproat, we got Pete Alonso home runs, 39 and a half. Pete Alonso gonna have a 40 home run season in 2025.
This one I ping ponged on so much too. I went over.
Okay.
I think you could.
I also went over.
I'm coping in saying that you could almost flush last season down the toilet because contract year, this, that, whatever, yada, yada, yada. In the 5 full seasons he played, because take out COVID, he's done it 3 out of 5 times. It's so. I also think, like I said, I'm a huge believer in the Juan Soto effect. If Brandon Nimmo can be what we know Brandon Nimmo is, if he's not dealing with no fucking feet, like. So I think there's a very realistic world where he does it. And I'm just going to say yes because I overall am a lot more high on the Mets bats than I am on the pitching.
So is 75% of the baseball community.
Yeah. No, but significantly.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think what you said holds a lot of weight. Take out COVID, he did it 3 out of 5 times, right? And even last year in his down year, he had 34 home runs.
That's what shocked me. That
So even
really shocked me.
if he has a hot streak sometime next year, that can easily turn into 40. Like
Mm.
5 home runs in a week, something like that. That can easily turn into a 40. So I want the over. I think Pete Alonso has an opportunity, I guess. That's really what I was going for. But obviously, he's playing for another contract, essentially, with an insane lineup. If he hits 40 home runs, he's going to get over 100 RBIs. He's going to have a good year. And then maybe he can get paid in free agency. So I think it has a lot riding on him. And obviously, uh, he will definitely help the Mets a ton if he can reach that 40 mark, which again, I think he will. Next up, we got Kodai Senga. Strikeouts overall at 174 and a half. I'll say it right now, I took the under.
I did as well.
Okay. For my reasoning, I think obviously they want to do a 6-man rotation. That's still the ideal way
Brandon
they want to do the
Sproat, come
rotation.
on down.
All Blackburn. But in his rookie season in 2023, Kodai Senga I think it was around 165 innings, 166.1. He struck out 202 batters. That is a K per 9 of almost 11. It was a really good rookie year. He made 29 starts. I don't think he's making 29 starts again. I
My
think
note,
you're probably going to be around that 25 mark.
my note is that if he pitches 150 or more innings, lock. This line is a lock. If he does, I'm just so worried about the health.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Or just last year, you saw he had like 4 different nagging injuries.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
he's just so meticulous. So it takes like 5 times longer to come back. Because if he doesn't feel 100%, he's not going to be ready.
yeah. So
So I think,
to me,
go
this
ahead.
was more a health argument than anything else.
Yeah, I think I kind of went the same way. I think just because of the 6-man rotation, and then maybe you skip a start, give him like an extra day, or give him an extra week or something, and then again the injury, there might be an injury somewhere in there. It's gonna be tough, but I think if he's healthy, he makes 30 starts. Yeah, he'll probably reach 200 strikeouts. I have a hard time seeing that, especially with again 6-man rotation. He's probably not making 30 starts, but that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And then for the final over-under of the 2025 season, Francisco Lindor, MVP finish, 5.5. So if you say over, that means you think he's going to finish 5 or above. Under means 6 or lower. I went the under.
I did too. I thought
Okay.
you were gonna take the over.
I did not. I think like 6 sounds right.
I literally had that in my head. I
Yeah.
literally said that right. If you did 6.5, I'd take the over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 sounds right to me. There's a lot of good players in the National League. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani. Then you got Ketel Marte, who had an
Shohei
insane
Ohtani,
year.
Juan Soto,
Soto's
Mookie Betts,
back.
Ketel Marte,
Right.
Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis, your MVP pick. Kyle Tucker's
Yes.
there now. Corbin Carroll's there now. Who says if a pitcher doesn't get in the top 5 of the MVP?
Right. If Paul Skeens just has a fucking insane year, absolutely possible. So I think it says.
Justin Verlander's in the NL now.
Yeah. Okay. It says. I think this says more about the talent in the National League than Lindor, because I think Lindor had this might if we look back on it, 10 years from now, this might have been Francisco Lindor's best season and his closest shot of ever winning MVP. Which again is not a knock on him. I think it's the state of shortstop as a position, as a non-offensive position, and then just, again, the Otanis, De La Cruz, Marte, Fernando Tatis, Mookie Betts, guys like that. even Freddie Freeman, if a bum foot, maybe he just has an insane year. Like, there's a lot of guys in the National League who can easily go in the top 10, around the top 5.
Say if
So,
it's
what?
call it fair,
Go ahead.
call it not fair. But where the fuck was I going with this? Oh, yeah, no. So you saying that shortstop not being an offensive position, he is gonna be compared to guys like Gunnar Henderson, guys like Bobby Witt.
Mhm.
Granted, those guys are in the American League, but that's gonna be in the back of voters' heads. Or like, oh, he wasn't even as good as them offensively.
Yeah.
So, so again, I don't think that that's really that fair, but I also don't think a lot of the voting in general is fair. So I
Yeah.
think that's gonna kind of be another knockout. Then even in the NL, you have Elliot De La Cruz, who is maybe the definition of excitement and
Yeah.
definition of just
E-
hit ball hard,
Embodiment
me
of
steal
aura.
base.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of stuff that is also going to be held against him that probably isn't that fair.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. So again, I think six seems right, but
I said before the season, he is, I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but he is like a lock to be top 8 MVP every year as long as he's healthy.
yeah, I
I
think
just
so.
think that top 5 with how stacked the NL is in talent, because we talked how much every time a free agent signs, like, yes, another guy in the NL, another guy in the
Yeah.
NL.
Literally.
So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
so
We'll
tough
see. Yeah.
for Francisco
We'll
Lindor.
see. But definitely think, yeah, top 10 for sure. Top 6 probably just sounds right. Just sounds right.
Yeah.
So that are the over unders.
So we agreed
Think
on Alonso home runs, Senga strikeouts, Lindor
and
MVP,
Holmes innings pitched.
and Holmes too.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you had over, right?
Yeah. So we had 6
Yeah.
different ones.
Okay, it's not
So
bad.
not bad. I
Not
think
bad.
that's what we
Not bad.
usually do. About 6.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about
So
right. Now you want to get
since
into the fun stuff?
you go first, you go first.
I go first. All right.
Yeah.
So let's preface this by saying this is now the hot take section. The way we did this was we have 5 levels of hot takes. We have mild.
Think
We
about
got
it like
hot.
the spice charts at B-dubs. Think
Yeah,
about it like
exactly.
that.
We got mild. We got hot. We got spicy. We got extreme. Then we got nuclear. So my first hot take of the 2025 Mets season, my mild take is Kodai Senga finishes top 10 in Cy Young voting. If he's healthy, I think this is a lock. Again, this is why it's mild. It's like, okay, right? That makes sense. I can see that.
Mhm.
Kodai Senga finishes top 10 Cy Young voting.
I went Max Fried finishes top 3.
Top 3 is tough.
That is tough.
That's
But
tough.
I said before the season started, before we knew about Garrett Cole going down, that I thought Max Fried would probably have a better year than Garrett Cole.
Mm-hmm. Now
I
there's no Garrett Cole.
Now there's no Garrett Cole, yeah. I said, and I think that's gonna help him because he's gonna be looked at more fondly if he has a good year.
Right.
I
The
said
Yankees age.
earlier about Yankee Stadium. I talked about the infield defense for a ground ball pitcher. That is so unimaginably important. I talked about Wells being a much better defensive catcher than what he's had in the past. So I also think that you look at the AL, like outside of Skubal, you got Reagans. You kind of have a bunch of guys that like you have Crochet, who really only had 1 year as a starter. You have a bunch of guys that aren't proven. You don't have those proven guys this year outside of Skubal. So
Yeah.
I think Max Fried, he was my backup for the Cy Young pick. So top 3, yeah, it's tough, but this is the reason why he got the most money for a left-handed pitcher of all time.
Yeah. Definitely fair. Definitely fair. Now, going on to the hot level of the hot takes.
Oh, something to note too, we both forced ourselves to have a negative take.
Yes, because not everything is sunshine and rainbows. So for my hot take, the Mets bullpen will finish as a top 5 bullpen in MLB.
It's funny you mentioned bullpen.
Is it?
Did you have anything
But
else?
I was just gonna say I like the bullpen a lot. I think it has a lot of potential. There's a lot of good stuff, guys, in that bullpen. Between Edwin Diaz, Reed Garrett, Jose Buto, Ryan Stanek, even Danny Young, Max Kranick, he's probably going to make the roster, I would assume. He has had a fantastic spring. We'll see what the Mets get from him in 2025. But I think this bullpen looks really good on paper. So, top 5 bullpen in Major League Baseball.
I can see it. My hot take is my negative one.
Ooh.
Guys like Luke Weaver take a step back, and the unknowns don't pan out in the bullpen, and that the bullpen becomes a problem for the Yankees this year.
Oh, really? See, I really like the bullpen for the Yankees.
Give me a second. Outside of Devin Williams, you have question mark after question mark.
Mhm.
Luke Weaver really only had one good year. His velocity in the beginning of spring was a little down. I think it's gone up, but who's to say he bounced? Who's to say that he does what he did last year? Fernando Cruz. He's 35 years, so only has 2 years in the big leagues. And we talked about how absolutely fucking disgusting his splitter is. Outside of that, he doesn't
That's
have
it.
anything. So, Tim Hill, 35 years old. He got better with the Yankees when he moved his arm angle, but he's also is an older guy. Who's to say what happens with him? Mark Leiter Jr., he's 34, and he hasn't had the best results with the Yankees. His sinker, I will say, in spring has been faster than it has. I think he threw like the 3 hardest sinkers of his career, something like that. Yandris Gomez, 25, not even a month of service time under his belt. Yeri De Los Santos, 27, 1 year service time. Brent Hedrick, a guy they claimed off waivers, 27, not even a month of service time. So you have a bunch of guys that aren't proven in this bullpen. But I feel like that's what you can get away with it in the bullpen. And the Yankees that's where I trust them the most, in the bullpen. But out of all the hot takes, I feel like that was kind of one that, or all the negative takes I could do, I feel like that was kind of the most realistic. Because you even
That's
saw
fair.
last year where the bullpen was a problem the first like 2 months of the season until guys kind of stepped up. So I don't think it's crazy to say that for the first 2 months of the season that you kind of see the same thing.
It's very fair. I think. Yeah. When you've like talk about it like that, like yeah,
You know what I mean? Where it's
bullpens are
question
so-
mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah,
Because
bullpens are so finicky.
say half these
to-
guys pan out, right? You have three liabilities in the bullpen,
Yeah.
maybe 4.
But you're gonna get Jonathan Loaizaga back at one
Yeah.
point.
That's
I
what I
mean,
said
how
in the
healthy is he
beginning.
gonna be?
That's what I said in the
Yeah.
beginning, the unknowns. Because you're not getting him
Right.
back until late May, the earliest.
Yeah,
So,
fair. That's fair. That's fair. Now, moving on to the spicy level of hot takes, the middle level. Pete Alonso will hit 50 home runs for the second time in his career. He's only done it once in his rookie year. I think the closest he's gotten after that was 46 in 2023. Yeah, so in 2025, Pete Alonso will cross the 50 home run mark for the second time in his career.
Mhm. Okay.
That's all I got.
Oswaldo Cabrera plays so well against lefties, or against righties, that the Yankees do not acquire an everyday infielder to replace him.
Really?
They may get a
Okay,
platoon bat.
interesting.
I did say in my
Okay.
notes, maybe a platoon bat, but they don't
Okay.
replace him. Because I did some digging. 2022, he had a 110 WRC plus in a 1.3 WAR in 44 games. That's really good. 2023, he was shit. 58 WRC plus in 115 games. 2024, 88 WRC plus in 109 games. But he had 105 WRC plus versus righties as a lefty. Where he sucked, he had a 17 WRC plus versus lefties as a righty. So that's where the issue is. But in granted 17 plate appearances, he has a 94 WRC plus versus lefties as a lefty. How much have I said Oswaldo Cabrera just needs to give up being a right-handed hitter? I think Oswaldo Cabrera can be a league average to above league average hitter if he is just a left-handed hitter. Especially with a guy that his entire thing, when he does well, pull ball air. I don't know if you know this, but for lefties in Yankee Stadium, pull ball air equals good.
Oh my gosh.
So it really is a thing of I could see him being a tick above league average, but playing so good a defense that they're like, you know what? It really does help our pitching staff because we don't have the most talent, but if we could have such an insane defense behind them, awesome. But we need a little bit more against left-handed pitching, so we're gonna get a platoon bat. Maybe even Pablo Reyes platoons against lefties, but yeah.
I have some breaking news for the Yankees, so we'll
Okay.
take a quick break. Ryan Yarborough is in agreement with the Yankees on a major league contract.
Major league.
Major league contract.
So that means one of Yandris Gomez, Yuri Los Santos, and Brent Hedrick do not make the team. One of those three.
Yeah. So that's all that's been reported as of now. But I think he opted out of a.
I'd assume that
contract.
means Brent Hedrick doesn't, because Brent Hedrick's a lefty.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's
Unless
also
they're going
lefty,
three
so.
lefties in the pen.
In 4 spring training appearances, 6.2 innings, Ron Yarborough has pitched to a 4.05 ERA, 10.8 strikeout per 9, for 1.3 walk per 9. So 55% ground ball rate as well.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about
stuff.
it in our opening day preview, but
Yeah.
this is where it's gonna get fun.
Yeah, this is the fun part. Now, extreme level. My extreme hot take for the 2025 Mets. Mark Vientos struggles in his sophomore season, leading to a platoon with Brett Beatty.
Yeah.
I love what I see from Beatty. Obviously, this is extreme. I think Mark Vientos has earned himself a leash. I think unless he's unplayable, I don't think this happens, right? But obviously, this is what these takes are for. Obviously, Mark Vientos, righty. Brett Beatty, lefty. Perfect match. Mark Vientos did hit lefties better. Of course, he did last year. And Brett Beatty, just being a lefty, is going to hit righties better. The strikeouts, the chases, the whiffs, everything I said about Mark Vientos when we talk about his WRC Plus are the same reasons I say that there is a potential for him to struggle. And I love what I see from Brett Beatty in spring training. I love it. He is probably going to make the roster as the opening day second baseman, which is crazy to say. So he'll probably be on the roster. So Mark Vientos struggles in the sophomore season. Platoons of his best friend, Brett Beatty.
My extreme pick. I had to tone it back because it was my nuclear pick, but I had to tone it back.
Okay.
I have Will Warren winning the Rookie of the Year.
Okay. You know what? I don't even know if I would consider. Maybe I just love Will Warren, but like that's not. I see it. I think I get it, but like I would argue that's not like.
It's
super
extreme to say.
Yeah, because I mean, look, he has some huge competition between Jason Dominguez and Kristen Campbell made the roster for the Red Sox. Jackson Jobe also made the roster for the Tigers. So there is a lot of competition there, but he looks good in spring training. The stuff looks good in spring training. Not crazy. I think that's perfect. It's not crazy. I love that. I like it. I like it a lot.
My reasoning is because we talked so much about how his profile is almost identical to Michael King. We saw how successful Michael King's profile can be in major leagues. You also have Austin Wells / JC Escara being the catcher for him. He struggled last year in the majors, but I think that's gonna help him. I think it's gonna be a thing of he's gonna learn from that. And do you know what my take was before?
What was it? Let's tell the
That
class.
he gets top 5 Cy Young votes too.
Crazy.
That's why it was nuclear. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna tone that back a little bit because I think my next pick.
That's insane.
My next pick is because I didn't know if I wanted my next pick to be nuclear either, but it's about Benjamin. It's about the thing.
Benjamin. Benjamin. My last hot take for the Mets 2025 season.
Nuclear.
My nuclear take. Francisco Lindor has a 40-40 season en route to winning the National League MVP. The closest home run total the highest home run total, was 38 in 2018. Were the baseballs, doctored in 2018
I
like they
think a
were in
little bit.
2019,
I think a little.
right? But even in 2019, he hit 32. So, and past 2 seasons, he's hit 31 and 33, respectively. I think the stolen bases would be the biggest thing here. I don't think 40 home runs for Francisco Lindor is not out of the question, I don't think. I think the stolen bases is definitely the thing that he would have to pick up on because his highest total was 31 in 2023. But, the voters love their numbers and love their numbers. So Francisco Lindor has a 40-40 season and wins the National League MVP.
Dude, he could have a 40-40 season. He probably won't even win the MVP.
Absolutely, because Ohtani. There is a lot of things that would have. This is why it's nuclear, right? There's a lot of things that would have to break right for this to happen.
Aaron Judge literally had to break the AL home run record to win the MVP,
Ohtani.
and he wasn't even unanimous.
Yeah, but this is why we're doing this. This is the nuclear takes.
You want to know
All
the
right,
funny
let's hear
thing? My extreme take, I was thinking of doing Jazz goes 35-35.
Okay.
So it's funny that you said that, but
Yeah.
Benjamin Rice has the most home runs for a lefty in the American League.
Ooh. I need to look at.
I got some stuff.
Go for it.
The three guys that I kind of mapped out for his biggest competition are Jordan, Gunnar, and Devers. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Okay.
Jordan, he has a lot of health question marks. Gunnar Henderson, his power tanked in the second half.
Yeah.
Devers, my first note on him, fuck you. My second
no Garrett Cole. So
no Garrett Cole. He's nerfed.
He's missing like 5 home runs.
But my second part is there was a lot of baby shit from him when it came to the Alex Bregman situation.
Yes.
How is that going to affect him mentally?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I literally said, I'm hoping he's a baby about needing to play third base and mental a shot. Again, it's nuclear for a reason. But Ben Rice hits the most home runs by a lefty in the American League.
Let's look at this last year. And I'm assuming like lefties only, like no switch hitters.
I was debating that, so I'm just going to go lefty, so it's not that outrageous. So just lefties.
If we look at it last year, Juan Soto led the American League as a lefty, 41 home runs. National League. Gunnar Henderson was next at 37. Yordan Alvarez was next at 35. Josh Naylor was at 31. National League.
Yep, Diamondbacks. I can remember if it was Rangers, Diamondbacks.
Yeah, Corey Seager with 30. So that was the
another
top
health
5.
question mark guy.
2 guys leaving the league, and then you got Yordan Alvarez who has injury question marks. Corey Seager injury question marks. Gunnar Henderson starting the year in the IL. He's probably gonna miss the minimum.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he's probably gonna miss the minimum, but he is gonna miss a few games. So we'll see. But after that, I mean, like you said, Devers, he hit 28, and then Riley Green was 7th with 24.
Yeah.
Ben Rice finds himself in a full-time role. I like it. I'm a fan. My stamp of approval. Ben Rice is hitting 35 bombs. Is that gonna be enough?
Dude, I don't want to get too high on Ben Rice.
I know we've talked about this episode a lot.
But nuclear, I had to go nuclear, and I said I am calling my shot on Ben Rice. Because to me, a nuclear pick, if Ben Rice finishes top 3 for a lefty in home runs in the American League, to me, I see that as a win.
Oh, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Because I called my shot. Maybe he didn't get the most, because say 2 guys had an insane year ahead of him, but the merit of my prediction was right.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I viewed these.
The logic.
They're like, Will Warren, say that he gets 3rd in Rookie of the Year. I view that as a win, personally, for a take.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's gonna be fun too. Do you want to do that? Add maybe even a tracker, but like a thing like we grade the picks, be like that was an L, that was like a yeah, it could have been, and then like that was
Yeah.
a win of a pick.
Okay. Yeah, we could do
And
that.
I think for the higher they go, logic matters more.
Yeah, because obviously less likely to happen, so
Yeah,
kind of need to
the
reason
thought
it a little
process
more.
matters more.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay then. Well, that was our
That's a
takes.
hot take. Do you want to do like a quick?
I was gonna say
Yeah,
on the hot take, only hot takes are also over unders.
yeah, hot takes. Let's do that.
Yeah, that's because I feel like over
Go
unders
listen
take
back if
forever.
you already.
But yeah. So my hot take, first one for mild. Max Fried finishes top 3 in the Cy Young. Hot. Guys like Luke Weaver take a step back and the unknowns don't pan out and the bullpen is a problem for the Yankees. Spicy. Oswaldo Cabrera plays so well against righties that the Yankees do not acquire an everyday infielder to replace him. Maybe a platoon bat, but not someone to fully replace him. Extreme. Will Warren wins Rookie of the Year. And Cy Young. No. Nuclear. Ben Rice has the most homers for a lefty in the American League.
Love it, love it. For my Mets hot takes, mild. Kodai Senga finishes top 10 in Cy Young voting. Hot. The Mets bullpen will be a top 5 bullpen in Major League Baseball. Spicy. Pete Alonso hits 50 home runs for the second time in his career. Extreme. Mark Vientos struggles in his sophomore season. Platoons with Brett Beatty. And nuclear. Francisco Lindor has a 40-40 season en route to the National League MVP.
I thought I went extreme with my picks.
Yeah, I feel like you went a little more out of the box. I feel
Logic.
like
I went more
I
logic.
kept it. Yeah, I kept it a little closer to earth. I feel.
Mm.
I forgot what I was debating. There was one that I was debating that I was like, I don't even know like how I would do this. I already forget what it was. I wish I wrote it down, but this was fun.
Yeah.
Hot takes are fun.
Because I also wanted to do guys that like aren't status quo guys. That's kind of what I did like for the over unders. I kind of wanted to shine light on like a bunch of guys. Like I I could have done something boring, being like Aaron Judge breaks the AL home run record again. Aaron Judge wins his third MVP in 4 years. I could have done something boring like that, like, but I wanted to go like the more undersold guys.
Yeah.
And honestly, you want to do this again, like halfway through the season? I think that would be so much fun.
We like what like at the All-Star break or something,
Yeah, or like we'll do
the,
like
the actual
halfway.
point. Okay. We'll see how the teams
Because then
are
you're also gonna have
shaping up.
You're also gonna have trade deadline stuff too.
Right.
Talk about.
Right. We
Ooh.
could do that.
Because then we
could
would
keep
have
that in
five.
back
We would have
pocket.
5 buckets.
Yes.
So. Ooh, I'm excited for that.
That'd be fun. But you got anything else
I
you
don't.
want to talk about?
We'll have a opening day preview on Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah. I got nothing.
Gonna quickly any roster updates because I hope by then all the rosters should be set. Guys who are making the team will be notified. Guys who aren't, same thing. So look out for that on Wednesday. But for now, I hope you enjoyed our over-unders and hot takes for the 2025 season. That being said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to subscribe, leave us a comment, give us your own hot take if you got one. Choose one of the levels that we did. Mild, hot, spicy, extreme, nuclear. Hope you kind of got a sense of what those levels are like. So give us one in the comments below. Same thing if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. Give us your hot take there. It also lets us know that you're enjoying the show. You're enjoying what we're putting out there. So we really appreciate it. And lastly, remember to follow all of our social media accounts at Triboro Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. Season's just right around the corner. So obviously content is going to be on an upswing. So thank you guys again for listening and watching. We'll see you on Wednesday for our opening day preview.